Every action comes with a consequence. When you do something horribly wrong, you should be ready to face what comes after it. When you are young, everyone assumes you are innocent and cannot do anything wrong. But there are cases where youths commit cold-blooded murders or fatal crimes. The law applies to everyone. No one has an exception when it comes to enforcing the law. In today's video, we look at the 5 craziest young convict reaction to a life sentence. So let us get into the video. Number 1. Philip Chisholm. Philip Chisholm was a 14-year-old who was sentenced for the murder of Colleen Ritzer, a 24-year-old high school teacher. Chisholm was a student at the Danvers High School, Massachusetts, and Ritzer was a teacher at the same high school. Ritzer was a beloved member of the faculty and the students. She was known to go out of her way to help others. On the day of the murder, Philip Chisholm was seen following Colleen Ritzer into the school toilet. It was reported that Chisholm robbed, sexually assaulted, and killed her by stabbing her with a box cutter. Before raping her, Ritzer was stabbed 16 times in the neck. Then Chisholm rolled Ritzer's body into the woods behind the high school in a garbage can. The police caught him the next morning as he had used Ritzer's credit card the day of the murder. Chisholm was taken to the police station where he was searched. The police found Ritzer's driving license, credit card, purse, underwear, and a bloody box cutter. Chisholm said it's the girl's when asked whose blood it was. When asked where she was, Chisholm replied without remorse, "She's buried in the woods." Throughout the crime, Chisholm was seen changing his outfits multiple times, indicating he planned the murder beforehand. Chisholm was charged with murder, rape, and robbery. On February 26, 2016, Chisholm was trialed as a court and was sentenced to 40 years in prison. During his trial, he was seen standing without any reaction throughout. He didn't show any guilt or emotion while being sentenced. Number 2. Jacob Morgan. Jacob Morgan was a 17-year-old from Rock Hill, South Carolina, who was sentenced to 15 years in prison for setting a fire that killed his 14-month-old stepbrother Joshua Hill. Morgan was left behind to look after his stepbrother one day. The prosecutor accused Morgan of starting the fire intentionally, ultimately leading to his stepbrother's killing. The prosecutor said Morgan started the fire on purpose as Morgan had a fascination with fire. Morgan doesn't admit to starting the fire but accepted the punishment as he pleaded guilty to involuntary manslaughter and unlawful neglect of a child. In the court, as the judge sentences him to 15 years in prison, we can see Morgan devastated. He cries out loud, mouthing sorry for what he has done. Morgan later came forward and stated how he loved his brother and always maintained his innocence, saying, "I love my brother and I still do to this very day. To kill him would be killing myself, and I wish I could have gotten him in time." Number 3. Nicholas Lindsay. Nicholas Lindsay was sentenced to life in prison for the murder of David Crawford, a St. Petersburg police officer. On February 21, 2011, Crawford saw Lindsay when he was sent to check in on a possible car break-in happening. As Crawford stepped out of his car to talk to Lindsay, Lindsay pulled out a gun and fired at Crawford 5 times, killing him. The jury convicted Lindsay of first-degree murder, and the court sentenced him to life in prison without parole. The Supreme Court then declared that mandatory life sentences for minor criminals were unconstitutional and that the court should examine mitigating circumstances. That is, minors who have conducted a first-degree murder are entitled to a hearing of criminal history, and the odds of rehabilitation must be considered before life without parole is imposed. In 2013, Lindsay got such a hearing. During the hearing procedure, Lindsay didn't seem interested in what was happening around him. In the hearing, the judge read a 27-page order outlining why Lindsay should remain imprisoned for the rest of his life. While the defense attorney claimed that Lindsay was showing signs of rehabilitation, the prosecution disagreed and provided several discipline reports from the Florida Department of Corrections that showed Lindsay participating in prison fights, assaulting other prisoners, and so on. Lindsay grinned without remorse at the victim's family as the judge read the court order. Lindsay can be seen sitting on the court playing around like it was another day. Number 4. Dylan Schumacher. Dylan Schumacher is a 17-year-old from Springville, Utah, who was sentenced to 25 years in prison for the murder of a 23-month-old Austin Smith. Schumacher was convicted of a second-degree murder of his girlfriend's son while babysitting the boy and his brother. Dylan Schumacher lived with his mother, along with his girlfriend Ashley Smith and her 2 kids. Neither of the kids were his. Schumacher was 16 years old at the time of the incident. According to the prosecutor, Schumacher beat Austin on the head several times. Trying to make him stop crying, Schumacher pressed a pillow into the boy's face before striking him. The attack caused Austin's intensive head injuries, which led to bleeding inside the head, which ultimately caused the toddler's death. As Schumacher entered the court, he turned to Ashley Smith and said, "Ashley, I'm sorry," and started crying. He added, "I did not mean to hurt him. You know I loved Austin." Schumacher's attorney put in a defense claiming that his client couldn't control himself due to his anger issues and his inexperience in babysitting. Although he was inexperienced as a babysitter, what he did was not what a 16-year-old would have done. During his trial, Schumacher admitted the attack and told the jury that he slammed the boy's head on the floor while changing the diaper as the child tried to get up. And he later put the pillow over his head so that he doesn't wake his younger brother. While saying this, he started crying and said, "I never wanted to hurt Austin. I never wanted Austin to die. I don't know why I didn't go for help." Number 5. Matthew Borges. Matthew Borges was a 15-year-old from Lawrence, Massachusetts. Borges was accused of killing Lee Valoria Polino in 2016. Borges and Valoria Polino were both classmates at Lawrence High School. Valoria Polino was a popular and down-to-earth person who everyone liked. Valoria Polino was originally from the Dominican Republic, and due to the change in his lifestyle, he was close to his family. On November 18, 2016, Valoria Polino and Borges were seen heading toward the Merrimack River together. That's the last time anyone saw Valoria Polino alive. Soon, the family realized he was missing and the cops were called. When Borges was questioned, he said they parted ways after smoking pots and had no idea where Valoria Polino was. 2 weeks later, a dog walker found Valoria Polino's decapitated body and head along the banks of Merrimack River. The corpse had no head and had no hands. Apart from being decapitated, the body was stabbed 76 times. After a thorough investigation, Borges was found to be the one who killed Valoria Polino. The report stated that Borges was jealous of Valoria Polino when he saw Valoria Polino and Leilani de Jesus, Borges' girlfriend, jogging around in school. This made Borges lose his temper, which ultimately led to the crime. During the trial, Valoria Polino's mother read a statement saying Borges should never have the opportunity to kill again. Lee was a sincere, loving, responsible, charismatic, and altruistic young man on the verge of seizing life and many goals. "Every day we struggle with the fact that his life was cut too short," she said tearfully. The prosecutor pointed out that the crime didn't happen at the spur of the moment, but Borges planned the whole thing beforehand. While searching his room, the police found his journal in which he had carefully written about how he chopped off the head and hands so that no one would find whose body it was. There are other disturbing allegations about Borges too. In the messages to his girlfriend, he has written, "Eyes that are dead are scary. Makes you think about what that person has done, what they've been through, what they've seen. Eyes that don't shine, that are full of darkness. It's just sad. It's like these people are different. They've done things that make them lose their humanity. Like they have no soul, they just have big black pupils." This is nothing short of disturbing. In May, after a 9-day trial in Salem, Massachusetts, Matthew was found guilty of first-degree murder, determining he'd committed the act with deliberate premeditation and extreme atrocity and cruelty. The judge sentenced Matthew to 2 life sentences and ordered him to serve a minimum of 30 years to life in prison before the chance of parole. While the judge was serving him his sentence, Borges could be seen standing straight without any emotions. He stood there as if nothing had happened. What do you think of these convicts? Do you think they all deserve the sentence? Let us know in the comments section below. We know this wasn't a pleasant video to watch, but it is also important to know about these types of situations and learn from their mistakes. We will be back with another happening video. Till then, see ya!